Okay, so let me jump into the model. So the reason I built this model was that there wasn't really a recent model out there. Other organizations that have built them haven't updated them in at least 5 or 6 years. And we've created a new life insurance executive forum that exists to find ways to close the life insurance coverage gap. And I wanted to build a new model to help them understand where the biggest places of need are. So the goal was to be as objective as possible, to serve as a benchmark for tracking progress, particularly as that group progresses, and to find out where the need's the greatest, and to distinguish from perceived need, because there's lots of information where consumers will tell you if they think they need more life insurance or not. But this is a more objective approach that I think is also good to have in trying to solve this challenge. And then to develop a set of assumptions that people can agree on. And I tried to be conservative in that. So what this model includes, and it's fairly consistent with traditional needs calculators out there. So it includes income replacement, debt repayment, and final expenses. What it doesn't include are reductions for Social Security, family or survivor benefits, where some other models have. And I decided not to include it for a couple of reasons. One is most calculators actually don't include it. Some do. But I also found an article based upon some research that was done last year that shows that the majority of children eligible for these benefits don't actually receive them. They're not claimed for by surviving parents or others on their behalf. So I don't want to assume that they're getting a benefit that most actually aren't. I also didn't include any assumptions for using life insurance for remaining college funding, and for some of the uses that are often used with some permanent products like estate transfer, charitable giving, etc. So just for the basic needs. So here are the assumptions that I used in the model. I'm using 7 years income replacement, which is less than many recommend. Some recommend 10 years or more. But the model has flexibility in all of these areas. So we could do to a specific age, such as age 65. I'm for the income piece, only including people that might have dependents. So they're either going to be married or partnered or have children. Using an income multiple of 75%, since the benefits are not taxable, we can kind of net out what they otherwise are paying in taxes today, and just using an assumption like 25% there. We are including debt replacement or repayment. We're including $15,000 for final expenses. And one thing to note with this particular model, because we're using the US Survey of Consumer Finances, which is based upon households, not individuals, these gaps and calculations are done at the household level, not the individual level. So we're including $15,000 of final expenses for both spouses. So it's kind of like a combined insurance that household would need. Once we have the full need, we then subtract financial resources that they might have, savings, etc., and any life insurance they also own. So to jump into the actual numbers, here's what the base model looks like. So we start off with income replacement for those who are under age 65 and have potentially dependents, 7 years of their income. We add in debt repayment for those who have debt, and final expenses for pretty much everybody. We get to a total need. Then we subtract out for those individuals, for those households, what their financial assets are, and then any life insurance they own. And some people will end up having no need because of that. So we end up with a life insurance gap of $33 trillion in coverage, which is a very big number, representing 83.5 million of the 131 or so million households, which represents about 64% of households. And what I find really striking about this last number is that, as an industry, we're trying to find who needs more life insurance, and how do we engage with them and get them into the purchase funnel. Well, finding them is not so hard, right? You could go to anybody you see out in the world, whether you're shopping or at a child sporting event or something, at the bus stop, with your kids. Chances are those other adults around you need life insurance, because it's almost 2/3 of people or households. If we instead were to say, well, what if we looked at 10 years of income instead of 7, the opportunity jumps up to $50 trillion, and a few more households. Another way to look at this is, what if we, for those who have dependents, had income that just replaced their income for the rest of their expected earning years. I use 65 here. The need just gets huge, right? It's $112 trillion. But there actually is merit in looking at using life insurance to replace income for the rest of your working years. And it's one way of using life insurance to build intergenerational wealth and also define human life value. So there's actually some merit in that method. If we then did income to age 65 for anybody, whether you had dependents or not, you get very huge numbers, 141 trillion. And if instead, going back to the base model, we said, let's not use up all of their savings, because some of that money is retirement savings that the surviving spouse might need to use for their own retirement if this person were to pass away. So if we reduce the resources used to just half of them, the opportunity jumps from 33 to about $40 trillion.